Have you ever felt like you've hit rock bottom? Like the world you knew has crumbled around you, leaving you lost in the shadows? Today, we're diving into a story that might feel very familiar. It's about a journey of transformation, starting from a place of utter despair and leading to a spiritual rebirth. This is the story of a breaking point. Imagine a life that was once stable, suddenly shattered. That's what happened to our protagonist. It wasn't one single event, but a cascade of painful moments. A lost job, the kind you thought was secure. A relationship, one you believed would last a lifetime, ending in a painful separation. And then, the friends, the support system you always counted on, slowly drifting away. It was the perfect storm, brewing a whirlwind of sadness, abandonment, and a deep, gnawing fear. Every morning became a chore, a repeat of the same gray, empty day. The only constant was a silent, agonizing question echoing in his mind: why me? The weight of it all was crushing. Sleep became a stranger, while tears became a constant companion. The thought of just giving up, of letting the darkness swallow him whole, was a daily battle. He felt completely and utterly alone, trapped in a belief that his fate was sealed, that nothing could ever change. Outwardly, he wore a mask, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy, not wanting to worry the few people who were still around. But inside, he was fighting a losing battle against the suffocation of despair. It was in this moment of extreme vulnerability, when all seemed lost, that something unexpected happened. A tiny flicker of light began to pierce the darkness. It started with small, almost insignificant signs. A dream so vivid it felt real. A single inspiring sentence, stumbled upon by chance in an old book. A song on the radio that seemed to be speaking directly to his soul, its lyrics echoing his own silent pleas. These little moments, like breadcrumbs on a forgotten path, began to plant a seed of thought. What if all this pain had a purpose? What if there was a hidden message in the chaos that he just couldn't see yet? As the days went on, this inner conflict intensified. The pain was still there, raw and real, but a new feeling started to emerge alongside it, a restless curiosity. He began to feel a deep-seated urge to find answers, to understand what this crisis was trying to teach him. The despair wasn't gone, but it was slowly transforming into a force that pushed him towards something new, something unknown. He was being propelled toward a search for transformation. This was a pivotal realization. He understood that to survive, to have any chance of flourishing again, he needed to look inward. He had to face his deepest fears head-on, the ones he had been running from for so long. He had to accept that the person he was, the life he had built, was no longer serving him. Change was not just an option. It was a necessity. This is the very beginning of a spiritual rebirth. It's that profound moment of recognition when you realize your current path has led to a dead end. It's the decision to shed old beliefs, to let go of behaviors that hold you back, and to release the pain that has defined you for so long. It's the terrifying but exhilarating first step toward rewriting your own story. Our protagonist, though still frightened and uncertain, began to awaken to this possibility. The idea of a different life, a fuller life, one that was truly his own, started to take root. He was standing on an emotional tightrope, balanced precariously between shadow and light. Every step forward was filled with uncertainty, but for the first time in a long time it was also filled with a glimmer of hope. This tension between clinging to the familiar pain and answering the call of the unknown is the engine of his transformation. It's a dynamic that is so real, so deeply human. It touches the heart of anyone who has ever felt lost and desperately sought a new beginning. So this first chapter of our story isn't just about suffering, it's about the awakening that suffering can trigger. It's an invitation for you to see yourself in this journey, to recognize the universal challenge of being reborn from the ashes of your old life. The crisis, as painful as it is, isn't the end of the story. It's the breaking point. It's the door cracking open, allowing the first rays of light to stream in, illuminating the path towards something truly transformative. Thank you for joining me on this first step of the journey. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to follow the path from despair to spiritual rebirth. We have so much more to explore together. See you in the next chapter. Have you ever felt like you've hit rock bottom? Like the world you knew has crumbled around you, leaving you lost in the shadows? Today, we're diving into a story that might feel very familiar. It's about a journey of transformation, starting from a place of utter despair and leading to a spiritual rebirth. This is the story of a breaking point. Imagine a life that was once stable, suddenly shattered. That's what happened to our protagonist. It wasn't one single event, but a cascade of painful moments. A lost job, the kind you thought was secure. A relationship, one you believed would last a lifetime, ending in a painful separation. And then, the friends, the support system you always counted on, slowly drifting away. It was the perfect storm, brewing a whirlwind of sadness, abandonment, and a deep, gnawing fear. Every morning became a chore, a repeat of the same gray, empty day. The only constant was a silent, agonizing question echoing in his mind: why me? The weight of it all was crushing. Sleep became a stranger, while tears became a constant companion. The thought of just giving up, of letting the darkness swallow him whole, was a daily battle. He felt completely and utterly alone, trapped in a belief that his fate was sealed, that nothing could ever change. Outwardly, he wore a mask, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy, not wanting to worry the few people who were still around. But inside, he was fighting a losing battle against the suffocation of despair. It was in this moment of extreme vulnerability, when all seemed lost, that something unexpected happened. A tiny flicker of light began to pierce the darkness. It started with small, almost insignificant signs. A dream so vivid it felt real. A single inspiring sentence, stumbled upon by chance in an old book. A song on the radio that seemed to be speaking directly to his soul, its lyrics echoing his own silent pleas. These little moments, like breadcrumbs on a forgotten path, began to plant a seed of thought. What if all this pain had a purpose? What if there was a hidden message in the chaos that he just couldn't see yet? As the days went on, this inner conflict intensified. The pain was still there, raw and real, but a new feeling started to emerge alongside it, a restless curiosity. He began to feel a deep-seated urge to find answers, to understand what this crisis was trying to teach him. The despair wasn't gone, but it was slowly transforming into a force that pushed him towards something new, something unknown. He was being propelled toward a search for transformation. This was a pivotal realization. He understood that to survive, to have any chance of flourishing again, he needed to look inward. He had to face his deepest fears head-on, the ones he had been running from for so long. He had to accept that the person he was, the life he had built, was no longer serving him. Change was not just an option. It was a necessity. This is the very beginning of a spiritual rebirth. It's that profound moment of recognition when you realize your current path has led to a dead end. It's the decision to shed old beliefs, to let go of behaviors that hold you back, and to release the pain that has defined you for so long. It's the terrifying but exhilarating first step toward rewriting your own story. Our protagonist, though still frightened and uncertain, began to awaken to this possibility. The idea of a different life, a fuller life, one that was truly his own, started to take root. He was standing on an emotional tightrope, balanced precariously between shadow and light. Every step forward was filled with uncertainty, but for the first time in a long time it was also filled with a glimmer of hope. This tension between clinging to the familiar pain and answering the call of the unknown is the engine of his transformation. It's a dynamic that is so real, so deeply human. It touches the heart of anyone who has ever felt lost and desperately sought a new beginning. So this first chapter of our story isn't just about suffering, it's about the awakening that suffering can trigger. It's an invitation for you to see yourself in this journey, to recognize the universal challenge of being reborn from the ashes of your old life. The crisis, as painful as it is, isn't the end of the story. It's the breaking point. It's the door cracking open, allowing the first rays of light to stream in, illuminating the path towards something truly transformative. Thank you for joining me on this first step of the journey. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to follow the path from despair to spiritual rebirth. We have so much more to explore together. See you in the next chapter. Hello, and welcome back to our journey of self-discovery. Today, we read diving deep into something that affects every single one of us: the weight of the past. It's that invisible backpack filled with shadows and memories, a burden so heavy it can keep us from walking freely into our own future. For the protagonist of our story, and perhaps for many of you watching, this weight isn't just a metaphor. It's a real, tangible force that shapes every thought, every feeling, and every choice. Let's explore the depths of this emotional baggage, the regrets, the resentments, and the wounds that never seem to close. From a young age, many of us learn to live with the heavy silence of unspoken words, missed opportunities, and mistakes we wish we could undo. These experiences don't just fade away. They become a constant echo in our minds. It's a painful loop that feeds our self-doubt, making us question our own worth and our ability to ever truly change. These memories aren't just polite visitors. They often burst in uninvited. They appear as distressing dreams, sudden flashbacks during a quiet moment, or an overwhelming sense of loneliness that hits you out of nowhere. It's as if parts of our past are still living and breathing within us, demanding to be heard. Regret becomes a constant companion, doesn't it? It's not just for the things we did, but often it's for the things we didn't do. The words we left unsaid, the apologies we never made, the love we didn't fight for. This feeling, this if only, follows us around like a shadow, making us believe that we are defined by our past mistakes. But here's the crucial turning point, a recognition that starts to flicker in the soul, the absolute need to forgive ourselves. This is where true transformation begins. Our protagonist, and we along with him, starts to understand that hiding from the past, avoiding it, or pretending it didn't happen will never set us free. The only way out is through. We must face our wounds with courage and compassion, acknowledge the ghosts that haunt us, and begin the slow process of dissolving their power. This journey of confronting the past is painful, no doubt. It's like revisiting an old haunted house. You have to walk through the dusty rooms, look at the faded portraits, and replay the difficult conversations that still carry the sting of resentment. But scattered among the shadows, you start to see small glimmers of light, subtle insights that point toward a path of forgiveness and self-care. This weight of the past doesn't just affect our emotional state, it builds an invisible wall around us. A wall made of isolation, sadness, and low self-esteem. We build it to protect ourselves from more pain, but paradoxically, it also cuts us off from the very things that can heal us: love, connection, and new experiences. It distorts our perception, making us see the world through a lens of past hurts. So, how do we begin to dismantle this wall? How do we lighten this load? Our character starts taking the first concrete steps. He seeks out practical ways to deal with this burden, perhaps through meditation, finding a good therapist, reading books that offer wisdom, or talking to a trusted friend or mentor. These aren't magic fixes, but they are the first real actions toward breaking free from the prison of the past. They are a declaration that we are ready to find a life beyond the pain that has held us captive for so long. This brings us to the most powerful message of all, a message of hope. Despite how heavy the past feels, it is possible to transform it. It doesn't have to be a source of shame. It can become a source of profound learning and growth. The character in our story, and hopefully all of us, comes to a fundamental realization. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, isn't a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate act of courage and self-love. It's telling yourself, I am more than my worst moments. I deserve a future that isn't dictated by my past. This understanding is the key that unlocks the door. It allows us to finally continue our journey of rebirth and transformation, not by erasing the past, but by integrating its lessons and letting go of its weight. The scars remain, not as marks of damage, but as proof of our resilience and our capacity to heal. Thank you so much for joining me on this reflective journey today. If this story resonated with you, please let me know in the comments below. Your stories and insights are so valuable to this community. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content on growth and transformation. Until next time, be kind to yourself. Have you ever felt lost, as if you were walking through a thick fog, and suddenly, a single ray of light breaks through? That's the moment we're exploring today, the inner awakening. After hitting rock bottom, after facing the ghosts of the past, something inside you begins to shift. It's not a loud explosion, but a quiet, powerful hum, the first note of a new song your soul is learning to sing. This awakening often starts with the smallest things. A thought that seems to come from nowhere. A gut feeling that there's more to life than the old, tired patterns you've been stuck in. It's a subtle whisper from your higher self, a gentle nudge telling you, hey, I'm here. It's time to wake up. These aren't just random coincidences. They are signs. They are your essence, your true self, trying to get your attention, inviting you to see beyond the surface. For our protagonist, this was the first flicker of light in a long, dark night. It's the moment when everything starts to change, when the search for meaning and hope truly begins. But let's be real, this kind of transformation isn't a magical, overnight fix. It's a slow, unfolding process. It's messy. As soon as that spark of hope ignites, your own shadows step forward to challenge it. Old fears, deep-seated insecurities, and the nagging voice of doubt all rise to the surface. Your mind, which loves its comfort zone, will try to pull you back. It will tell you, this is just a fantasy, it's not real. Go back to what you know. This creates an intense inner battle, the call to grow versus the pull of the past. It is a tug-of-war between the new you that is trying to emerge and the old self that is afraid to let go. But even amidst this internal conflict, that quiet, persistent voice inside insists, keep going. So what do when you hear that call? You start taking small, intentional steps. This is where the awakening moves from a feeling into action. For our protagonist, this meant picking up a book on spirituality, sitting in silence for the first time, or simply trying to meditate, even if it was just for a few minutes. He began to discover the power of simple practices. He learned that a moment of quiet reflection isn't empty. It's filled with potential. He found that speaking words of gratitude, even when it felt forced at first, could slowly shift his entire perspective. These aren't just spiritual cliches, they are practical tools. They are the keys that unlock the door to that new energy, helping to anchor this awakening in daily life. Each small act of self-love, each moment of self-discovery, becomes a building block for a new foundation of hope. As you continue on this path, something incredible starts to happen. Those subtle whispers grow into profound experiences of connection. You might be walking in nature and suddenly feel an overwhelming sense of peace, a feeling of being a part of something vast and beautiful. You might hear a piece of music that feels like it's speaking directly to your soul, bringing tears to your eyes for reasons you can't explain. Or you might just feel a comforting, loving presence around you when you need it most. These moments of true peace, of inner revelation, are your proof. It requires the courage to look inward, to face your own darkness, and to choose love over fear, again and again. Every small insight, every flicker of hope, is like a puzzle piece falling into place, constructing a new, more authentic identity. The character in our story realizes that this awakening is a profound invitation, an invitation to transform. It's a call to let faith love, and a connection to something greater guide you out of the darkness and into a more conscious, meaningful, and fulfilling life. It's the journey of coming home to yourself. So where are you on this path? Maybe you're just starting to see that first ray of light, or maybe you're already learning to dance in its glow. Wherever you are, know that this journey is yours to take one small, courageous step at a time. The most beautiful part of your story is just beginning. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration today. If this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world and helps us continue creating this content. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and keep listening to that inner voice. Gentle, reflective music begins and fades into the background. Hello, and welcome back. Last time we witnessed a profound inner awakening, a spark of hope in the darkness. Today, we walk alongside our protagonist as they take their first tentative steps on the path to renewal. This isn't a magical transformation. It's a journey filled with discovery, challenges, and those small, quiet victories that mean the world. It's a delicate, fragile time where old doubts linger, but the desire to live a new life burns brighter than ever before. Right away, one truth becomes crystal clear. This path cannot be walked alone. The very loneliness that once felt like a prison now gives way to a fundamental need for connection. Our character realizes the immense power in opening up to others, to people who can simply listen, who can understand without judgment, and who can offer a hand to hold when the road gets steep. This support might come in many forms: a formal support group, the safe space of a therapist's office, the shared silence of a spiritual retreat, or even just a raw, honest conversation with a trusted friend. In these human connections, they find the anchor they need to face the first waves of change. At the same time, a spiritual exploration begins. This isn't about rigid doctrine, but about finding what resonates deep within. They experiment with their first simple practices. Maybe it's a few minutes of daily meditation, just sitting with the breath. Perhaps it's reading a few lines from an inspirational text that offers a new perspective, or speaking a quiet prayer into the universe. Small, personal rituals start to take root, each one designed to strengthen the mind and nourish the spirit. Every new discovery feels like lighting a candle in a dark room, a small step towards an emotional balance they've never known before. This consistent practice becomes a lifeline, a way to connect with their true self and nurture the fragile faith that is just beginning to bloom from the soil of their past pain. But let's be honest, this journey is anything but a straight line. It's not a smooth, upward climb. There are days, even weeks, when the old sadness, the old fears come roaring back with a vengeance. The temptation to give up, to slide back into familiar but destructive habits, is immense. Doubts creep in. Is any of this actually working? Am I strong enough for this? What if I fail? The fear of the unknown can be paralyzing. And what our protagonist is learning, what we can all learn, is that this internal resistance is completely normal. It's part of the process. The real victory isn't in never feeling these things, but in persevering despite them. Perseverance is the key that begins to unlock the chains that have held them back for so long. This journey inward is also a journey of self-knowledge. By paying attention, really paying attention to their emotions, their automatic reactions, and the recurring patterns in their life, they start to see with clarity what needs to change for true healing to happen. This requires moments of intense and often painful introspection, looking at parts of themselves they'd rather ignore. But pushing through that discomfort often leads to a profound sense of relief, like a weight being lifted. This newfound clarity doesn't just feel good. It strengthens their resolve and reinforces their commitment to keep going, to keep digging deeper. And in the midst of all this hard work, it's crucial to celebrate the small wins. This is something our protagonist learns to do, and it's a powerful tool. A small win could be a single day without falling back into an old habit. It could be catching a self-critical thought and replacing it with a compassionate one. It could be a simple act of kindness towards oneself, like taking a walk in nature instead of staying inside. These moments are the fuel for the journey. They nurture motivation and serve as constant reminders that lasting transformation isn't built on grand, dramatic gestures, but on a series of continuous, simple, and deeply meaningful steps. So, as we leave our character for now, they are fully on their path. The message of this chapter is one of profound hope. The paths to renewal are open to every single one of us. To anyone willing to take that first step, even when the terrain looks rocky and uncertain. It's faith in the process, even when you can't see the destination. It's the gentle acceptance of your own imperfections, knowing that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of healing. And it's the courage to seek support from others. Together, these elements transform what could be a painful struggle into a powerful, life-affirming experience of growth and hope. Thank you so much for joining me on this part of the journey. Your presence and support mean more than you know. If this story resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next chapter. Until next time, be well and take care. Have you ever felt lost, wandering through a fog of doubt and confusion, only to find a sudden, unexpected moment of clarity? A moment so profound it changes everything? That's what we're diving into today. The encounter with the light. This isn't about some dramatic movie-like epiphany. It's about those quiet, powerful shifts that happen within, marking the true beginning of our transformation. Imagine walking a long, winding path. You've been wrestling with your own shadows, fighting internal battles. Then, it happens, a moment of true light. Not the fleeting light from outside, but a deep, warm glow that comes from the very core of your being. This is the light that emerges when the soul begins to heal. These encounters aren't always grand spectacles. Sometimes the light finds you in absolute silence, when your racing mind finally quiets down and a wave of transcendent peace washes over you. In that stillness, you feel connected to something far greater than yourself. It's a feeling of coming home. Other times, the light arrives as a powerful insight. A sudden moment that untangles a knot you've been carrying for years. Doubts dissolve, painful questions find their answers, and you feel an intoxicating sense of clarity. It's as if the universe itself just whispered a secret directly into your ear, but the magic doesn't stop there. This light often shows up in the small, everyday details. Think about it. An unexpected act of kindness from a stranger that restores your faith in humanity. A chance conversation that delivers the exact words you needed to hear. A song that plays on the radio and seems to speak directly to your heart, touching a place you thought was long forgotten. These aren't just coincidences. They are signs, little winks from the universe, reinforcing that you are on the right path and that you are not alone. Each one is a breadcrumb of light, guiding you forward on your journey of renewal. For the person in this story, and for so many of us, these moments are like mini rebirths. They provide the fuel to keep going, even when the path gets steep and the old shadows try to creep back in. You start to understand a fundamental truth. This light isn't something you have to search for outside of yourself. It's an inner force, a divine spark that has been within you all along. The key is learning how to access it. It requires surrender. It requires opening yourself up to the new, letting go of old beliefs and rigid expectations. When you do, spirituality stops being an abstract concept and becomes a lived, felt experience. It's not about complicated rituals. It's about finding the sacred in the ordinary. This is where real change begins to take root. You learn to practice genuine gratitude, not as a chore, but as a spontaneous overflow of your heart. You start seeing beauty in the simplest things, the color of the sky, the taste of your morning coffee, the sound of laughter. Your faith is no longer based on what someone else told you to believe, but on your own direct experiences of connection and grace. This inner shift naturally transforms your outer world. Your relationships become more authentic, your emotional health improves, and your entire approach to life gains a new quality of depth and meaning. You start handling challenges with a newfound resilience because you are no longer operating from a place of fear. This chapter of life is also filled with stories of answered prayers. Not necessarily getting exactly what you ask for, but receiving what you truly need. It's about feeling a sense of spiritual protection, like an invisible hand on your back, guiding and supporting you. It's about discovering the power of meditation, not just to calm the mind, but to find immediate comfort and a deep sense of belonging. These experiences are paradigm shifters. They break down the walls we've built around our hearts and confirm that our spiritual journey is not a solitary walk in the dark. We are accompanied by invisible forces of love and care, always ready to help if we just ask. Of course, encountering the light doesn't mean the darkness vanishes forever. Even in the brightest moments, shadows of the past can still linger. Old insecurities might whisper their doubts. Maintaining this connection to your inner light requires daily practice. It requires discipline, unwavering faith, and most importantly, self-compassion. A struggle is ongoing, but the difference is, now you have powerful tools. You have the memory of the light, the certainty of your inner strength. Each time you choose to reconnect with that light, you become a stronger, more resilient, more authentic version of yourself. This is a celebration of renewed hope. It's that breathtaking moment when the soul is finally illuminated and the horizon, once gray and uncertain, is suddenly painted with the most vibrant, beautiful colors. With this inner clarity, you feel a surge of energy to move forward. You are nourished by the profound certainty that the light you have found within is the ultimate driving force for your complete and beautiful transformation. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the light. If this resonated with you, please share your own moments of clarity in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content that inspires and uplifts. See you next time. Have you ever felt like you taking one step forward and 2 steps back on your personal growth journey? You have a moment of clarity, a breakthrough, and you feel amazing. Only to find yourself, a few days later, right back in the middle of old habits, old fears, and old doubts. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. This is the inner battle, and it's a crucial, albeit challenging, part of any true transformation. Welcome to our exploration of the inner battle, a chapter in the journey of transformation that everyone must face. It's the stage where the initial excitement of change meets the stubborn resistance of our old selves. Think of it like this. You've decided to clean out a cluttered room. You're inspired, you start sorting things, and for a moment, it looks even messier than when you started. That's the inner battle. The shadows, the doubts, the ancestral fears we've carried for so long, they all come out of the woodwork to test our resolve. It's a common misconception that healing is a straight line. We expect a smooth, upward trajectory, but the reality is much more like a spiral. We revisit old wounds, not because we failed, but because we're ready to heal them on a deeper level. The wounds of the past, even those we thought were healed, can echo in our present. They try to pull us back to what's familiar, to the safe ground of emotional stagnation, because, as uncomfortable as it was known. Patterns like harsh self-criticism, a paralyzing fear of failure, and that nagging feeling of inadequacy, they are deeply rooted. They are the weeds in our mental garden, ready to choke out the new seeds of growth we're trying to plant. This struggle isn't just in your head. It's a deep emotional and spiritual confrontation. The voices of doubt begin to whisper, and they can be incredibly convincing. Have you really changed? What if all this effort is for nothing? Are you strong enough to keep going? These questions are powerful. They can shake your most deeply held beliefs and fuel the very fear of failure they were warning you about. And when that fear takes hold, the temptation to retreat, to give up just to avoid potential pain, becomes immense. How does this internal struggle manifest in daily life? It shows up in those moments of weakness, when we find ourselves slipping back into old self-sabotaging behaviors. Maybe it's isolating yourself, drowning your feelings in distractions, or letting that inner critic run wild. In these dark moments, pulling away from the world can feel like a temporary relief, but it never offers a real solution. It's in these exact moments that our most powerful tools are needed: patience, self-compassion, and pure, simple perseverance. These are the weapons we use to fight the temptation to give up on ourselves. A major turning point in this battle is learning to reframe these internal storms. Instead of seeing them as a sign of failure, what if we saw them as an inevitable, even necessary part of the process? The battle isn't you against yourself. It's you against the invisible barriers, the conditioned patterns that are blocking your growth. This subtle shift in perspective is everything. It allows you to develop an attitude of acceptance toward your own emotions. You can start replacing that rigid, critical inner voice with one that is gentler, more understanding, and far more constructive. So how do we actively strengthen ourselves for this fight? We need practical tools. This is where practices like meditation can be a game changer, not just for relaxation, but for cultivating self-control and observing our thoughts without getting swept away by them. Simple breathing exercises can become an anchor, calming a turbulent mind in minutes. Mindfulness, the practice of bringing your attention fully to the present moment, helps you detach from the regrets of the past and the anxieties about the future. These aren't just trendy wellness fads. They are foundational spiritual and psychological tools for navigating the emotional highs and lows of this journey. And perhaps one of the most powerful realizations during this phase is that you don't have to do it alone. The illusion of the lone warrior is just that, an illusion. The importance of outside support cannot be overstated. Whether it's friends who truly understand your struggle, a spiritual guide, a therapist, or a support group, connection is key. Sharing your suffering but also your victories, no matter how small they seem, creates an emotional safety net. This network reinforces your resilience and reminds you that your struggle is a shared human experience. Let's be honest, this phase of internal conflict is exhausting. There are real risks of falling into despair. There will be days when the light at the end of the tunnel seems impossibly dim, or maybe even gone. But true power isn't about never falling. It's about the courage to get back up every single time. It's found in the quiet decision to persevere, even when you don't feel like it. Persistence is what forges victory, and this victory is profoundly personal. To consciously choose to face this struggle, to meet your shadows with self-love and compassion, is the very act that unlocks deep healing, true liberation, and a lasting sense of inner peace and serenity. It's the hero's journey, and it's happening right inside of you. Thank you so much for joining me in this deep dive. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content on navigating the journey of personal and spiritual growth. Your support means the world. See you in the next one. Have you ever felt like you were finally turning a corner after a long, hard struggle? Like the first rays of sun after a seemingly endless storm? That's the moment we're exploring today, the delicate, powerful, and profound beginning of true healing. After intense internal battles, after moments of gut-wrenching realization and sudden clarity, the first concrete signs of healing start to appear. It's not a loud, dramatic explosion, but a quiet, steady shift. This is where the real work of transformation begins, overcoming past trauma, finding the strength for genuine forgiveness, embracing radical self-acceptance, and making those internal changes that ripple outward into your life. One of the first and most challenging lessons on this path is understanding that healing isn't a finish line you cross. It's not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, A daily commitment that requires immense patience, discipline, and most importantly, a deep well of self-compassion. It's like tending to a garden. You don't just plant the seeds and walk away. You have to water them, pull the weeds, and nurture the growth every single day. It's at this stage that we often start to identify the deeper wounds, the ones we've kept hidden away. Maybe we buried them out of fear of feeling that sharp pain again. Or maybe we were just resistant to letting go of old hurts that had become a familiar, albeit painful, part of our identity. But true healing demands that we face these pains with courage. It requires us to open ourselves up to vulnerability, to be willing to feel uncomfortable, because that is the only way to truly transform. It's about finally saying, I'm ready to look at this, no matter how much it hurts, because I'm no longer willing to let it control me. A cornerstone of this entire process is forgiveness. And let's be clear, forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal growth. It's not about condoning what happened or letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself. We begin a profound process of forgiving others and perhaps even more importantly, forgiving ourselves. We start to understand that resentment doesn't come from the injustice itself, but from our own stubborn refusal to let go of the bitterness. We cling to it, thinking it protects us, when in reality, it's a cage. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that cage. It is a radical act of self-love that breaks the chains of the past and finally allows you the freedom to live fully and vibrantly in the present moment. Hand in hand with forgiveness comes self-acceptance. This isn't about ignoring your flaws. It's about making peace with them. It's an honest, compassionate recognition of your limitations, your mistakes, and your virtues all in one beautiful, messy package. You finally stop measuring yourself against other people as impossible standards and make a commitment to being your most authentic self. This is where you learn to have a healthier, more loving relationship with the person you spend the most time with, you. This shift in perspective fundamentally transforms your internal dialogue. That harsh inner critic, the one that's always pointing out your failures, begins to lose its power. In its place, you cultivate a voice of encouragement, of kindness. You start speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a dear friend who is struggling. You offer positive affirmations not as empty platitudes, but as genuine reminders of your worth and your strength. This single change can be the most powerful catalyst for growth you'll ever experience. And these internal reforms don't just stay inside your head. They manifest in practical actions and tangible changes in your behavior. You might find yourself naturally drawn to habits that promote emotional and spiritual balance. This could be a regular meditation practice that calms your mind, or starting to move your body through exercise, not as a punishment, but as a celebration of what it can do. It could be nourishing yourself with healthy food, carving out sacred time for leisure and play, and actively seeking out relationships that are genuine, supportive, and embrace the new person you are becoming. You start to build a life that actually feels good from the inside out. Alongside these visible changes, even more subtle transformations are taking place in how you see the world. A new perspective begins to take hold, one that is built on a foundation of gratitude, humility, unconditional love, and resilience. You start noticing the good, even on bad days. You learn to bend without breaking. This internal shift creates a ripple effect, positively influencing every single area of your life, your work, your family, your friendships, your sense of purpose. At this point in the journey, many people also discover a profound strength in service to others. You realize that by helping someone else navigate their own path of transformation, you deepen your own healing. It's a beautiful, symbiotic relationship. Sharing your story, offering a listening ear, or simply being a source of hope for someone else fosters an incredible sense of connection, usefulness, and joy. These feelings become essential fuel for maintaining your own emotional and spiritual balance. You realize your pain wasn't just for you. It can become a beacon for others. This chapter of healing ends not with a grand finale, but with a quiet, appreciative observation of the progress you've made. You look back and see the fruits of your labor, those small, yet incredibly significant victories that prove the healing process is real and it is working. Maybe it's a moment where you didn't react with anger like you used to, or a day you woke up feeling a sense of peace you hadn't felt in years. There's still a long road ahead, of course. The journey never truly ends. But you feel in your bones that you have advanced to a new stage, a new level of being. A place where pain no longer dominates your life, and where hope is no longer a distant dream. but the very fuel that propels you forward, one courageous step at a time. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me today. If this resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content on healing and personal growth. Take care of yourself. Have you ever felt that flicker of light inside you after overcoming a difficult time? That sense of peace, of clarity that you've worked so hard to find? It's a precious feeling, isn't it? But what happens next? Do we just hold on to it, keeping it safe for ourselves? My journey taught me something profound, that light isn't meant to be kept in a box. True light, the kind that comes from deep within, doesn't diminish when you share it. In fact, it does the opposite. It multiplies, it grows, it shines even brighter when it connects with someone else's. I remember standing at a crossroads. I had finally found my way out of the darkness, and for a while that was enough. But then a new feeling started to grow. It was a pull, a quiet but insistent whisper, urging me to share what I'd been through. The memories of my own pain, the loneliness, the feeling of being completely lost, they weren't just scars anymore. They became my motivation, they became a map. I realized that my mission wasn't just to save myself, but to become a lighthouse for others who were still navigating their own stormy seas. So I took a deep breath and started to tell my story. And let me tell you, that was terrifying. To be truly vulnerable, to open up and show people the broken parts, the moments I fell, the times I wanted to give up. It felt like exposing my soul. But something incredible happened. By sharing my struggles, I wasn't met with judgment. I was met with empathy. People started to see their own battles reflected in my story. They saw that if I could find a way through, maybe they could too. It was like my story became a bridge, connecting my heart to theirs, and in that connection, hope was reignited. It's one thing to talk about change, but it's another to live it. Sharing my story wasn't just about words. It ignited a desire to act. I started small, creating a local support group where people could talk without fear. I'd listen, truly listen, to their stories. These weren't grand gestures, but simple acts of solidarity. Each conversation, each shared cup of coffee became a living testament to the idea that our pain can be transformed into purpose, and the effect was contagious. It was like a ripple in a pond. One person's newfound hope inspired another, and slowly a network of support and light began to form all around me. Of course, this path wasn't always easy. Putting yourself out there, being so open, it invites criticism. There were moments I felt that old fear of rejection creeping back in. I worried people would think I was weak or that my story wasn't worth hearing. But I had to learn to build a new kind of resilience. I had to anchor myself in my own truth and trust that my authenticity would attract the right people. And it did. I discovered that genuine vulnerability doesn't push people away. It draws them closer. It forges connections that are real and meaningful. And in doing so, my own sense of purpose, my own feeling of belonging, grew stronger than ever. One of the most important lessons I learned during this time was about balance. It's so easy to get caught up in helping others that you forget to tend to your own flame. I realized that to be a lighthouse, I had to make sure my own light was burning brightly. You can't pour from an empty cup. This meant recommitting to my own self-care practices. Meditation, quiet reflection, spending time in nature, these weren't indulgences. They were necessities. They were what kept my energy flowing. Sharing became a beautiful cycle of giving and receiving. By helping others, I was constantly reminded of my own strength, and by taking care of myself, I had the strength to continue helping others. The most rewarding part of this entire journey has been seeing the impact. I started getting messages from people telling me how my story had given them the courage to take the first step on their own healing path. I saw people in my support groups starting to lead with more compassion, offering a hand to others. Seeing that chain reaction, seeing the light spread from person to person, is a feeling I can't even put into words. It showed me that one person's transformation can truly spark a collective shift. It's not just about emotional well-being. It's about building a more compassionate, supportive community, one person at a time. Looking back, I see that finding the light was just the first stage of my journey. Learning to share it, to be an active agent of change in the world, that was the next chapter. It's a calling. It's the realization that my personal story isn't just mine anymore. It's a bridge, a symbol of rebirth that can connect my experience to a much greater universal purpose. That light I share is a testament that no matter how dark it gets, a single flame can illuminate the path for many. And that, I believe, is a journey worth taking. Thank you so much for walking this path with me today. If this story resonated with you, I'd love for you to join our community. Hit that subscribe button and let's continue to share our light together. See you in the next video. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like you were seeing a stranger? Not in a scary way, but in a way that makes you realize just how much you've changed. That's the feeling we're diving into today, the profound moment you recognize your new identity, forged through a journey of deep personal transformation. It's that feeling of rebirth, when the old you, the one weighed down by fear and self-doubt, begins to fade, making way for someone stronger, freer, and more authentic. Before this journey, maybe you were living a life shaped by limiting beliefs. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions were all tangled up in old pains and fears. It was a familiar, but heavy, way of being. But now, after all the inner work, the reflections, and the breakthroughs, a new energy is pulsing through you. You're starting to see the world and yourself with fresh eyes. Think about it, that constant fear of failure that used to paralyze you? It's been replaced by a quiet courage. That harsh inner critic who was always pointing out your flaws. It's softened into a voice of self-compassion and acceptance. This isn't just a surface-level change. It's a fundamental shift in who you are. This new identity wasn't an accident. It was built, choice by conscious choice, every single day. You started prioritizing new values, things like integrity, radical honesty with yourself, empathy, and a connection to something greater than yourself. This internal realignment has a ripple effect. It changes how you show up in your relationships, how you see your place in the world, and what you believe your purpose is. It's about realizing your own power in this transformation. Yes, you may have had support from others or felt guided by a higher power, but ultimately, this change is a result of your unwavering commitment to yourself. That realization is empowering, isn't it? It fuels your determination to stay true to your new principles and to keep growing. Now, a common misconception is that transformation means escaping reality. But it's the exact opposite. It's about facing reality with a completely new attitude. You learn to navigate challenges, not by avoiding them, but by meeting them with your newfound strength. You're no longer just surviving. You're living in alignment with your deepest purpose, creating harmony between your mind, body, and spirit. So how do you maintain this new identity in the real world with all its pressures and distractions? It comes down to daily practice. Things like meditation, moments of quiet reflection, and surrounding yourself with a supportive community that encourages your growth. These aren't just nice-to-habits. They are the essential pillars that sustain your transformation. They are your anchor when the storms of life try to pull you back into old patterns. This support system is crucial. It's the network of friends, mentors, or family who see your new self and cheer you on. They remind you of how far you've come when you start to doubt yourself. Building and nurturing these connections is an act of self-love and a vital part of integrating your new identity into your everyday life. When you share your journey, you not only strengthen your own resolve but also inspire others to begin theirs. And here's a beautiful truth to remember. This new identity isn't a final destination. It's not a static, finished product. True growth is a continuous process. Your identity is a dynamic flowing river, not a frozen statue. It will be shaped and reshaped by new experiences, new lessons, and future transformations. Embracing this idea of impermanence is liberating. It frees you from the pressure of having to be perfect and allows you to move forward with grace, curiosity, and wisdom. This openness to constant evolution is what keeps you from getting stuck. You remain a student of life, always ready to learn and adapt. This mindset ensures that you continue to grow, preventing you from clinging to any single version of yourself. It's about being present with who you are today, while staying open to who you are becoming tomorrow. So the journey of transformation is really a journey of rebirth. It's about shedding the layers that are not truly you to reveal your core essence. It's an invitation to step into a more conscious, loving, and connected version of yourself. This new identity isn't just a concept. It's a lived experience. It's the solid foundation upon which you will build the next incredible chapters of your spiritual and emotional journey, a state of being that serves as your guiding light. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration today. If this message resonated with you, please give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next conversation. I'd love to hear about your own journey in the comments below. Until next time, keep embracing your evolution. Have you ever reached a point where you looked back and barely recognized the person you used to be? Not because you lost yourself, but because you finally found yourself. That's the heart of today's story, the final chapter in a journey of profound transformation, a chapter we can all write for ourselves. Hope and the future. Imagine standing at the peak of a mountain you thought was impossible to climb. You look back at the winding, treacherous path. You remember every stumble, every moment you wanted to give up, every fear that whispered you weren't strong enough. But you also see how each challenge carved you into the person you are now. That's where our journey concludes today. It's a moment of deep reflection and gratitude, realizing that the very crisis that almost broke you was actually the seed of your rebirth. Every dark moment was just a tunnel leading to a brighter, more enduring light. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about a hope forged in the fires of experience. It's a deep-seated faith that comes from knowing you've faced storms and are still standing. This is the kind of hope that equips you with inner tools, resilience, wisdom, and a quiet confidence to face whatever comes next, not with fear, but with serenity. You start to see the future not as a land of shadows and uncertainty, but as an open field of endless opportunities for growth, for purpose, for finally living as your most authentic self. This inner transformation carves out space within you. It's a space where your long-forgotten dreams can breathe again, where your core values become your compass, and where your life's purpose shines with a renewed clarity. You find the courage to build a reality that truly aligns with who you are deep down, knowing you have the power to create it. This isn't just a fantasy. It's the natural outcome of doing the inner work. So how do we keep this inner light burning bright? How do we prevent it from being just a fleeting moment of inspiration? The key lies in maintaining a firm anchor, a spiritual connection that grounds us. Think of it like tending to a garden. Daily practices like meditation, taking a few moments for inner silence, or sincere prayer are like watering that garden. They are the essential habits that nourish our spirit, allowing us to live with fullness, peace, and balance. It's not a one-time fix. Spirituality is a living, dynamic process. It needs to be nurtured every single day to flourish. This transformation we've been talking about isn't a final destination. There's no happily ever after where the work just stops. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's the beginning of a more conscious, more intentional journey. It's a commitment to continuous evolution. Once you've experienced this rebirth, you naturally feel a pull to keep learning, to keep growing, and perhaps most importantly, to help others find their own path out of the darkness. This becomes a new mission, a purpose that gives profound meaning to your renewed existence. It's the shift from what can I get to what can I give. The most powerful message in all of this is that this kind of transformation is within reach for every single one of us. It's not reserved for a chosen few. It's a universal potential waiting inside you. It starts with the decision to reach for your own essence, to choose to walk toward the light, even when shadows are all you can see. It's about believing that a spiritual rebirth isn't just a poetic idea, but a real, tangible possibility for you right now. Your journey matters. Your story is important. Now is your time. Don't just be a passive viewer of your own life. It's time to act. Take a moment today to reflect on your own path. Embrace your battles, not as sources of shame, but as chapters of your unique story of strength. Awaken to the incredible possibility of your own personal rebirth. What is one small step you can take today to move towards that? If you want to continue receiving content that inspires, motivates, and offers practical tools for your spiritual and emotional growth, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. And if this message touched you, share it with someone you know who might need to hear it. Together, we can build a community of light, a place where each person's story of overcoming strengthens us all. Always remember, the transformation you seek begins within you. The future you dream of building depends entirely on the choices you make today. Give yourself permission to blossom, to be reborn, and to become the light this world so desperately needs. Your journey is ongoing, and trust me, the best is truly yet to come. Thank you for being here.